but let's have a look at the man who put the knob into Nobby. Invercargill Mayor Nobby Clark. Invercargill Mayor, now this came out last week, but there's been a bunch of information floating around since Friday that's made us revisit this, and I want to show you a video that many have seen, but I want to have a look. I want to show you some more bits and bobs. Right, so this is the Invercargill Mayor. His name is Nobby Clark, and he has been lambasted by local iwi over his attitude towards giving civic public buildings Māori as well as English names. At a fiery meeting on Tuesday, so this is a week ago, Clark put forward the motion saying that council would support bilingual naming of civic buildings, but only if the Māori words relate to the building's purpose. Now that means it takes all sorts of metaphor out, it takes all sorts of simile out, it takes all sorts of poetry out. It has to relate to the building. So hospital has to be the Māori word for place to go and get injections or something similar to it. The recommendations suggested using metaphors or words that have symbolic meanings should not be allowed because they cause confusion and do not relate to the purpose of the building. But following a heated public forum and lengthy debate, Clark amended his original motion, cutting out mention of his accompanying paper, which mentioned community concerns that some buildings had an unequal focus on Te Reo, and instead sought to develop a plan to advance the bilingual naming of civic buildings. Former Invercargill Deputy Mayor Toni Biddle was among the iwi delegation who spoke during the public forum. And what I want to share with you now from our lovely friend Calvin Morgan's Twitter feed is some of that message. Two things I want to highlight to you. The first is this is Nobby and Clark if you're watching, right? Just take note if he's got the courage and the honour to look her in the face when she's speaking. Okay? I do think the camera might pan around as well. She is speaking to all of the councillors. See what they respond to when she speaks. Let's have a listen.
Today, I would like to speak to a notice of motion that has been put up by our Mayor. When I read the notice of motion, I felt real sense of aroha and sadness. I thought about my father who was born Apiri Hama Biddle. That was the birth name that he was given. But no one could pronounce it. So you know what they did? They took it away from him and they called him Bruce. And he had that name for the rest of his life until I received his birth certificate when he passed at the age 80 and learnt that his name was Apiri Hama Biddle. And you today have a decision to make whether you take our Te Reo away by choice. You are taking the choice from us. If the council wants to name a building in Te Reo Māori, they should be allowed to. You should be allowed to. And we shouldn't have to come and fight here for that. Not today, not ever. I'm absolutely disgusted. I'm shaking, I'm angry, and I'm completely sad. And each and every one of you, please look at me when I speak to you. Don't look away. Don't divide our city. Please don't divide our city. Turn this notice of motion down and let the normal process continue as it is. It's unnecessary, it's unreasonable, and you're only going to cause more division for our people who are going through enough already.
So the big thing is, what's happening is that the motion is going to stop conversation around Māori place names or building names. It's going to make a blanket ban. So what it's actually doing is it's making the process less democratic. So all of these right-wing fundamentalists who scream from the rooftops things like no more division, let's follow the democratic process, one vote for one, one person, one, all that kind of bullshit. When they get into power, they try and ram things through that are undemocratic, let alone the emotional message you just heard, which is hard to listen to. It's also completely undemocratic because all she's asking for is don't bring in a law that says we can't have a conversation around calling a fucking building, giving it a Māori name. That's it. That's what, just the normal process is what we're asking for. You're trying to take that away. Chewy.
It's such, yeah. Like we were talking about his reaction. He's the only person that didn't look at her once.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he was doing, playing Angry Birds or something like that. But I mean, we know what Nobby's all about. He was at the Stop Co-Governance tour. He introduced Julian Batchelor at that. He's on record multiple times. He talks about he doesn't want the bastardization of European language. He wasn't clear on what European language, but I'm sure we can fill in the gaps there. And it shows an absolute lack of understanding about how much English has bastardized itself. It's what it does. It takes the words that it likes. And that's the same for any language. Our language, there's a reason. There's New Zealand English, because we use different words. We incorporate words from Te Reo, and have done for decades.
Well, forget Te Reo. What's he going to call a croissant from now on? You know, what's he going to call
the
a garage?
Same thing we've always called it. A curvy bread. You know, it's just the same old tired arguments for this sort of stuff. It's, we can't pronounce them. We don't know what they mean. It's all too hard. Everybody stops learning when they leave high school. Dusty old opinions, and I'm sick of it. You know, and good on her for standing up and really just like, that's hard on your sleeve sort of stuff. And, you know, imagine that, just like empathy. Imagine you have a name. Everybody goes, nah, that's too hard. We're going to call you Bruce. That's shithouse.
There's one other part to play in this. And you know how sometimes when people make bullshit arguments, they expose themselves? So here's the bullshit argument part of it. During the debate, Clark said metaphorical names could be confusing. He used the council's admin building as an example. Te Hineke, which means eel pot, and has connotations of gathering together. Now, the reason this isn't utter bullshit meaning is that people would actually need to know that Te Hineke meant eel pot. And what kind of follower of Nobby and Clark is going to know what that Māori word means? So in other words, that Māori word means, well, that's what that building's called. He's trying to say, you know, all the people who don't understand Māori and can't pronounce it are going to get confused because this word means eel pot. What? This is honestly the argument you're making, you fucking knob? Ridiculous.
I mean, we've got it here locally as well. There's over in Mosgiel, they've been building a new public pool, and there was a lot of kickback once they gave that a Te Reo name, and it's the same. It's the same argument as people going, oh well, how does anybody know what that is? You know, and it's a pool. Everybody knows it's a pool
because that's its name.
And you get these really weird arguments like, how is a tourist going to know where the pool is? Well, if a tourist has found their way to Mosgiel and wants to go to the pool, they'll type in pool on Google and it'll fucking take them there. Like, it's not an argument for the tourists. It's an argument from the locals that feel challenged. It's the people that have always called it the Mosgiel pool, and now someone has said that the name is different there, which acknowledges the original name of the silver stream that goes through Mosgiel. So, you know, again, that's a perfect acknowledgement. It's great. But you get these just ass backwards arguments that nobody's going to know where the pool is anymore. Or we fundraised for a pool, so why is it given a Maori name? And it's like, well, you fundraised for a pool. You've got a pool, you know. And
here's a perfect example, too. You're going on a road trip, right? And you're going through the North Island, and you stop in at Whanganui. Do you know what Whanganui means?
I did. Now it's gone, so no.
I didn't say that to kind of embarrass you that you didn't know, because no one would, really. It means big bay or big harbour, right? It means large amount of water, Whanganui. So we don't need to know that it means big bay or big harbour to go to Whanganui. We don't need to look at a map that says Whanganui or what other Māori place name there is in the country. We don't need to know what the Māori word means to know that that is the location we're going to. It's exactly the same with a building, which is why this bullshit argument about people might get confused. They'll go in and they'll go, hang on, there's no eel pots in here. I thought this was the eel pot building. It's like, of course you won't, because it's called what it's called because it's called. That's it. That's the name of that building. What's it mean behind it? Doesn't matter. That's the name of that building.
Do you know what also sprang into my mind when we talked about the eel pipe?
Go.
The beehive.
Yeah.
It's not literally a beehive.
Oh my God, are you serious?
We've fucking worked it out somehow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like there's no coherency to these complaints. It's just always nonsense, and it always falls back whenever, like when we're talking about the roadsides. It's about safety. It's words on a sign are not the only visual language used. You know, it's not like you see, like they're not even using them on stop signs. But you don't, just because it doesn't say stop, it says the Māori name for stop. You don't automatically go, well, I don't know what a red octagon means anymore. So I'm just going to drive through this intersection.
How about the cake tin, says Pete? You know, if you're going to the cake tin to watch the game, well, what does that mean? Well, Westpac Stadium. Well, if you call it the cake tin, I'm not going to know where it is. What? What are you talking about?
There is cake there, though, rather than rugby. So
I started, the tangent, first of the night, I started watching on Netflix tonight, Is It Cake? Season 2. But we'll leave that right alone. It's just ridiculous.
I mean,
it's looking for an answer where there is no question, and it has undertones. Now, I do struggle to call people actively racist. Like I put some stuff out in the weekend on Twitter about racist voters for National. Look, it's unquestionable that there are some racist people who vote for National. Very clear that not everyone who votes National is racist. I struggle to actually make a specific accusation at lots of people. Some is okay, but lots of people. But it's very clear to see that this has racist undertones to it. Racial/racist undertones at the very best. At the best. At the worst, it's something worse than that. But at the best, it's racist undertones. Basically saying we don't want to speak that bloody pigeon spelt wrong English.
I think if you look at Nobby's behaviour and statements, it's pretty easy to see the pattern there. And sure, maybe it's ignorance. I tend to think it's more malicious than that.
Yeah. And
he's doing that classic thing when people go, hey, man, have you considered that? He doubles down. He gets angrier. And that suggests to me he's not in a place of learning. And the whole thing here is Nobby is a perfect example of the danger that is in politics, that if people don't get involved, if they go, these guys don't listen to me, they don't represent me, whatever, I'm not even going to be a part of it. I'm not going to vote. Who cares about local body politics?
Yeah.
Less than 10% of Invercargill voted for their local body, and they use first past the post. And that is what you get. I'm pointing towards Invercargill, by the way. That is what you get. You get absolute dog shit candidates getting through. And now, not everyone in Invercargill thinks like this, but he's their figurehead now.
Yep.
He's the person that they go, Invercargill Mayor, horrible racist man. Oh, you go, okay, so they're the one that they elected as a leader, so they must love a racist.
Yep. And look,
get angry.
We've been banging on about this for months, and we're going to bang on about it for the next couple of weeks. If the left vote, the left wins, whether that's local body or national elections. Let me just play something for you that might help you remember that. Today's episode is brought to you by bhnshop.nz. Yep, that's right. Big Hairy News has merch that enables you to both support what we do and allows you to voice your political opinions via the international medium of clothing. Head to bhnshop.nz for this month's drop of either If the Left Vote, the Left Wins, or Christopher Luxon, not a businessman, just a board member, with free delivery in New Zealand. This month's drop ends July 20th, so be quick and head to bhnshop.nz to make your order and support what we're doing to fight mis- and disinformation this election cycle. That's bhnshop.nz. Just get that out there for you, see if it works. Yeah, right. So, that's it. That's it. If the left votes, the left wins. Pete says he likes that. Well, there you go, Pete. Get yourself to bhnshop.nz. Those t-shirts are only going to be available and hoodies until July 20th, and then they go away forever. That version of them, then they go away forever. So get it in there.
if you know people that sort of go, well, I don't bother voting in the election because they're all the same. Those are the people that we need to be winning over.
Yep.
You know,
it's unquestionable in the Western world that there are more left-leaning citizens than right-leaning, but the left-leaning citizens are more apathetic, and that's what keeps it close. Have a look at America. It's the easiest way to have a look at. Have a look at the popular vote. Popular vote has been won by the left for the last 30 years, bar one election.
Mm-hmm.
There are more left voters, but the left is more apathetic when it comes to getting engaged, which is why if the left votes, the left wins. Our job, your job, my job, is, as Chewy's just said, to find those people who are currently not engaged and get them engaged. Get a T-shirt, have a conversation with them, tell them about this upcoming election. It's as easy as that. It really is. It's as easy as that. The left vote, the left will win, especially that it's already razor thin. I mean, it probably means if 10% more of the left vote, the left wins. But let's not cut that back. Let's get everyone on the left to vote. And that it's probably one of the reasons that the right, A, don't want to drop the voting age, and B, don't want to make voting compulsory. Because if they drop the voting age, you're going to have a heavy swing to the left of young voters. And if they make it compulsory for everyone to vote, then the left is going to be hard to keep out of government.